Oh, the dinner spread's still here. Well, let's get back to it, shall we? Well, that's right. We ended right on the cutoff here. Bang. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. Revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion, that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes. That's my intention. If that's the case, it is in fact the resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Sogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? Fair point. He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. Huh. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this one day. Kazuma. Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Again with this. I was bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. Resume the closed hearing of Baroque Van Zeeks. Oh, fence is ready, my lord. Oh, we got final trial soundtrack. Prosecution is more than ready. This is it. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. Prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. It's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve. This is going to test it to the limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Ah, so it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena? I did what was necessary. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you'd take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. Put all my time into I put my all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never fancied the young murdering student turning up here of all places. You acquitted me of yourself. And now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. I rode the train. And then the boat. And explain yourself. What exactly are the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this. And I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment. What? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette. My decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? Oh boy. I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. Simple as that. Oh. So you would run from all of this? I beg your pardon? This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? Murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku was involved in this case?
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. Communication contained 4 names. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Hold it. You little... Ooh, where did you get that? You admit it then. In Tokyo, from your office, Judge Jigoku. What? What on earth did you... Huh. What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? So the list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. A. Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No! year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Sheen, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A Shin and her victim, Jay Wilson. The murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Sogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Isogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other. Both assassins, like the exchange happening as exchange students. It's almost like they were replicating the crime that Genshin Isogi, I'm not gonna do it, was executed for 10 years ago. Just completely mimicking that crime. Exchange of exchange students being used as assassins to use diplomatic immunity to get out of it. Kill targets that are convenient to be killed for each government. Or perhaps they were both good to be killed. What exactly is the defense suggesting? These two cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. The telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? Telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. Judge Jigoku? What is this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. Name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you. Ah! You deliberately avoided saying a name? Man's right. The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? Silence only goes to prove his guilt. Your silence speaks volumes. It's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court. There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well, then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st October. Send your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord. true that Cosmo Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved. Sus. So you admit it then, as this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan. A political endeavor at the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here. To use such a worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword at that British inspector, you know. What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? I love his angry stares. His angry expressions. They're so menacing. Cosmo-sama? I love when we get to give Judge his character outside of the courtroom. Outside of the judge's bench. Judge Jigoku, I should say. If you're the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. Oh, he ain't gonna do that. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case. Crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's conceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Baroque Van Zieks. Prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. And what the accusation remains unchanged? To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for some Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining with the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel? Sure! Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. A year ago, when Cosmo was still in Japan, then... Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him. Forget it. Remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright. I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission. Well, surely not. I thought it was a joke at first, but then it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. So you just agreed to it? Just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but assassination? The Empire of Japan had accepted a proposal for the British Empire at the time. An agreement to send a student from each country to the others, to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students would be given assassination missions. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart. This also feels really eerie because, like, the British equivalent was literally a trained assassin, and the Japanese equivalent was Asogi. Why? Why didn't you expose the plot there and then? Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations. Foreign Minister Jigoku. As a witness, I am bound to tell you the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him.
Hold it!
Why Kazuma? Why'd you pick him as the assassin? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than a desire, it was his whole purpose in life. Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer, was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain. And of course, you know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi. There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying my Asogi. Why was Inspector Gregson the target? I have no idea. Those were the orders for Britain. I was in a position to question them. You have no idea, really? What's with that weird question mark? I find that hard to believe. Oh, do you? Jigoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time. The defense really ought to catch up. With what? With the fact that the assassin exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi. That's right.
Hold it!
I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January. The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed. His body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin, Rosanaga. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all. He did lose his memory, including all the details about his specific mission. She did not consider dispatching another assassin at that point. That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement, and there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. Ah! My hands were completely tied. Mr. Sholmes' strategy worked perfectly. He predicted everything that would happen. Well played, Sholmes. Months later, my memory returned. I'd never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyways. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Was that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the matter as death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea. Oh, we still have 2 statements left here. This is... yeah. We're going that route. Outside your cabin in the first-class area of the SS Grouse, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door. I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night, I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin. At the particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner. The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Jigoku's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman led 2 potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding. Not the most convincing of sentries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. Anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. Then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes. He glared at me as I walked past. You see, that proves it. Oh, don't want to do that.
Hold it!
Crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. A muscular man with a permanent grin expression on his face. He didn't once move from this spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. As it happens, he's a vital witness now. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. It's inconceivable that a crewman was standing just outside the door wouldn't have heard that. But wait! What about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired. Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't watch. Oh! You will recall that my cabin was in the first-class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go. I didn't mean... But a hole like that, made by a bullet, was found in your cabin, Judge Jigoku. It was compelling evidence that a gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole? Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. It was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by woodburn. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. A hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewman to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question, as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot and would never have made it to Britain in the first place. Very true. The witness's logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth. I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. No, Cosmo's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a really shock. It's unforgivable, using Cosmo-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan. I think Cosmo manipulated Judge Jigoku, too. He completely double-crossed him. Oh, dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Cosmo-sama's part. One way or another, though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship. So you mean Judge Jigoku must be lying? You know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. She must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo. Fuck yes, Usado. Let's just present this here.
Objection!
Yet, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again. Dour look on your face. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. Crewmen were away from their posts. And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Ugh!
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel? Dr. Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. Oh boy. We'll present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on 31st October? Iris, help! Be going with the bloody trunk? Has blood on it, right? So it's gotta be this.
Take that!
Bailiff, take this evidence and incinerate it. What? No. That evidence was presented after careful consideration, my lord. I suggest you take a little longer of your deliberation in the future. Otherwise, you may find that you're the one being sent for incineration. Ah! What? Okay. So just be with Cosmo's tongue getting sharper by the minute. Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. Your mind can only get sharper, too. After Sholmes Professor Mikitoba's visit to Judge Jigoku's cabin, he yielded a minute piece of evidence that was very nearly overlooked by memories and failing me. Oh! Must bring it to mind, Mr. Naruhodo, and in a timely fashion before the bailiff burns everything. You'll present the evidence at once. What the hell is this? You see these little things all over the place, don't you? Right on top of a pocket watch you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. Watch would be... Oh, use this without one. The crown? Like what sits on top of a monarch's head? That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. Actually... Yes, Mr. Naruhodo? It's just a crown. I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Okay, there we go. That actually incinerated the evidence. No, it did not. Yeah, that is, in fact... What do you think, Mrs. Otto? I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. But to see that the little round component is actually part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch. Really? I was just thinking precisely that too. Holy shit. Perfect fit. I knew it. Alright. Perhaps you knew it. Making note of this new information at once. Oh! Okay, so we have to do that first. I'm glad I tried to do this.
Take that!
Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? A pocket watch. And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. The cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? Hey, now stop that.
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible, at first. Rather, I like this pocket watch. It's full of cracks. You sassy. You sassy. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year, but hey! Sorry? I know that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel. I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. Wow! I think it's clear. Witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well, then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October. Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an ippon sei throw, though. Couldn't wait to run away after that. Imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It had nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London. How are we gonna approach this? Ippon sei. Common jiu-jitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force. The man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proved that the victim's murder took place there. Ah! I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have had no involvement in this case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Sorry, my lord. Vince has the right to cross-examine. I don't intend to squander that. What an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. Oh, did I skip that? That case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, nope, don't do that.
Hold it!
The so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean? Apparently Greg told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course. Wouldn't have had his identification with him, though. He had his trench coat and mustache. Not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced. The man accompanying him would have had 2 swords slung around his waist. You mean me? Who else? Yes, that's true. Would have hoped the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head. Point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned and I immediately disembarked the ship. Certainly all I can tell you is that old lady inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back at my cabin. And you entered without any inkling of suspicion. That's right, none whatsoever.
Hold it!
Obviously you're talking about Inspector Gregson. Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name. And there was no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose. That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. Never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. And who would think the man never shot somebody before? Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. I suit, okay.
Hold it!
Even though the man had a gun, it was a very brave move, wasn't it? My Ibonseo is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you. But surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it? Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at the stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make his escape. The outstanding guard does it again. Luckily there aren't many situations I can't get out of using a quick Nippon Seoi throw. crown snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked. Preferable to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? No, not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. The point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place. Absolutely not. All this watch proves the power of my jiu-jitsu throw. Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in the cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall. What are you talking about? Hmm? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective story is. Told you, isn't it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin.
Hold it!
There's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think. That the idea of yours through now, stripling? I think that idea of yours through now, stripling. What? The inspector was killed on the steamship to France. How on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, then obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Well, that's gonna be the question we have to answer, isn't it? Carrying a corpse off the ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true. But all passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, I would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. Let's kill that idea then. But perhaps not. Mr. Zato? We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them. Which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body at this. Oh, smart. Yeah, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I can also alter my testimony, with your consent, of course, my lord. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. Well, alright, I'll just press. See what happens. There's an idea. Think about it, stripling. All passengers and crew disembarked at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. Symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry. And we met you as soon as you arrived at the hotel. So you did. Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? She was under constant scrutiny from the time Gregson might have died in his cabin to the time he got to the hotel. What? No. So we're in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they've developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Funny you should say that. Mr. Harebrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, of course. Read my mind again. Fences become unusually quiet, I notice. Yes, because there's really nothing more to say. So that's his story. Well, I suppose if you think about it, wherever you drop a teacup at the office and it breaks, we don't say Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we? Is that a veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one? And the fact is that Inspector Gregson's body was found in the little room on Fresno Street. He really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin. The body would have had to been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border, that would be impossible for the majority of people. There must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit then. That could be a vital realization, I think, Mr. Naruhodo. I gotta object to this last point. I think...
Objection!
Oh, he's glaring. No possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? Well, we did show that you hid in yours. I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do. Transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took a lot of time. I must say I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Ah, I knew you were jealous. Presume you call this Judge Jigoku? It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting... Afraid I am, yes. A few days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan at the hotel. The body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Order in court. I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? inside his trunk. How horrifying. After we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street. Your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Goy, the coroner who examined the bodies, confirmed the possibility. It's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. Yes, I'm sure they are, but one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh at their long sea voyages, and the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikitoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. I can see that you have both laid firm foundations for that already. Oh. Judge Jigoku, please! Stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. Defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, we must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. Visual scene of the crime. Prosecution's stance is unaltered. Killing took place on Fresno Street where the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Baruch Van Zieks shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. Afraid that's how the logical reasoning the Britons are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. Afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, as that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at that scene on Fresno Street. This evidence clearly contradicts that claim. We're going with the, what we'll call it, trunk? He bled out? We'll do this next time. Until then.